mind behind one of the most brutal mass murders ever committed. Meet Vincent Bugliosi, the man who put Manson behind bars, and Patti Tate, sister of one of the victims. We'll also hear from Sandra Good, one of the original followers, and learn why there's a new breed of worshipers following in their footsteps. Charles Manson is my role model on the Bertice Show today. Charles Manson. For most of us, the name alone evokes fear. He made us realize that no matter how rich anyone was, that we could no longer be safe. Today you're going to meet people who say that Manson is a leader. He could even be a role model. And for the first time on TV, they will face the sister of one of the victims, Patti Tate, and also the man who put Manson behind bars, Vincent Bugliosi. Let me introduce our first guest. This is Sandra Good. She goes by Blue, a name that Manson gave her. She was one of the original followers. And George Stimson, who has recently been visiting Manson for the last 3 years. Let me start with you, Blue. You say that if the whole world would follow Manson, that we would be a better place?
Well, let me clarify something. I never considered myself a follower. Manson particularly didn't want followers. He said, have faith in yourself and follow your own heart. But he has influenced my life, and I feel that my life is good because of him. He would be a fantastic role model for the country. He would give the children back to themselves. He would give the kids back to themselves. He wouldn't brainwash them with the BS that kids nowadays are brainwashed. The system and school does nothing really but put children's mind in the money. The love of money is destroying the planet. What we were all about was to save our air. We have an organization called ATWA. It stands for air, trees, water, and animals.
By slicing up a pregnant woman?
She wasn't sliced up. Her belly was not touched, and he'll tell you that. She was killed.
And you also say that he never forced anybody to do anything.
That's right.
And he wanted people to think for themselves.
That's right.
That's why he kept them in cabins out in the desert.
Nobody was kept anywhere. People were free to leave as they did. You can even check in his book. It's replete with stories with people when the goings got too heavy, they left. Manson didn't force anybody to do anything. Everybody had their own free will. Those were distinct. Everybody at that ranch had their own personality, their own mind. She said earlier, Manson made the country aware that the rich people weren't safe. It wasn't Manson. It was the children of the middle class that went into those houses.
That's right.
You can shake your head, but that's the truth. Manson wasn't there. He wasn't even in town for the week before those murders. That idea came up out of the minds of middle-class kids, and that's what people can't stand to listen to, so they have to put it off on an ex-con and make this whole story, oh, our kids couldn't have done that, so it must be this guy that's been in jail his whole life.
Well, let me just say who Charles Manson is for starters. We all know, of course, the famous name, but let me just give you a little background on him. He's a very complex individual. Certainly not the Richard Speck type of a mass murderer.
He's not any kind of a mass murderer.
Let me just tell the folks who he is. He's 59 years of age, born in Cincinnati, Ohio. Well over half of his life has been spent in jails, reformatories, and prisons. There's no question that he's a very intelligent, very bright person. He's charismatic. Wherever he went, the evidence is clear. Kids just seem to congregate towards him. On a different level, he's a megalomaniac. He had this uncanny ability to dominate and control fellow human beings.
I do not let myself be controlled. I can't let you say that.
Okay, but let me just finish. Let me just finish. Like all tyrants, there were some good sides to him. I'm sure he loved animals and children. Adolf Hitler did too.
What's that supposed to mean? What's that supposed to mean?
I just want to finish.
I want you to finish this point, but let me bring Patti in here now. You're hearing this discussion, this whole, it's a conservationist kind of thing. Now, how do you respond emotionally knowing what happened to your sister Sharon?
Well, my response is when I sit and listen to Sandra say, you know, about taking care of the earth, you know, and our water and our trees, and how they were programmed, there was so much violence, but they took in all that violence and they did worse. So instead of by trying to do anything that was positive, of which we can do, they chose to do such bad things. And why? I mean, first of all, to me, none of it ties in. I don't understand any correlation with, you know, saving our environment and killing people. I can't even imagine what this is about.
I was giving you a sketch of Manson. Most of all, Manson is a cold-blooded killer.
That's not even true. He never killed anyone.
Let me finish. Who during the family's heyday, very cleverly masqueraded behind the image of being peace-loving. Manson has a passion and a lust for death and murder. As someone who knows Manson better than I do, because he lived with Charlie, he said, death is Charlie's trip. Manson spoke constantly of death. He said everyone had to die either in their head, the killing of the ego, or out on the street. He said he'd rather kill a human being than even a bird or a rattlesnake. The songs he wrote contained frequent references to death. He had this morbid preoccupation with death and murder. Now, Manson, it's hard to talk here with these interruptions. Manson was convicted of 9 murders. He was sentenced to death, not life in prison. I told the jury, if this was not a proper case for the imposition of the death penalty, no case ever would be. Right. So he was convicted of 9 murders, sentenced to death, believed to be responsible for 35 murders. Ridiculous. The reason I say that is that the Manson family said we, quote, offed 35 people. I'm personally convinced that if Manson had the opportunity, he would murder as many people as he could. He has an enormous hostility towards society.
That doesn't mean anything.
Okay. 25 years of this total bull. Okay. Total bullshit.
Sandra herself told Lawrence Merrick, a Hollywood producer, that the Manson family was responsible for 35 to 40 murders. Well, Lawrence Merrick said that you did.
Is it on tape? I did not,
Lawrence
because
Merrick.
it is not true.
You say that the reason for the murders was not helter-skelter, as is alleged in the book.
Helter-skelter means confusion. We saw the country was spiraling into a greater state of confusion, which is what you have now.
Mm-hmm. And they want to make it worse.
And who gives
it can't get much worse.
You do.
Who gives you the right to kill people?
War. What gives Bush the right to send people in to kill? What gives any leader or whatever to go in and kill people in Vietnam?
They gave themselves the right. They knew the consequences of their actions.
Okay, Alex, start from the beginning.
Okay, I'm going to have to take a break here. I want to get back to both of you. We're going to do that in the next segment. I want to ask you, how in the world are we going to get through chaos and beyond chaos by killing and mutilating more people? I want to know that. We're going to take a break and come back and ask you that question. More of the Bertice Berry Show right after this.
When my dad died, I found out about probate.
We're back talking with a new generation of Manson followers, people who say that Manson is a leader, a role model. The reason for doing this show is that a lot of these people, you know, you all are cheering, you may not have even been born when this happened in '69. You're not aware of it, and our reason for doing this is to make people aware that there are a lot of people who are saying Manson is a great leader, he's a role model. I asked you a question earlier, Blue. Why the murder?
In the context of the 60s, killing or violence was not unusual. As I said, the music was singing it, etc. We also were involved in a war in Vietnam at that time. Every day we saw body bags. You know, the sons of America were being sent to kill in a war and to, you know, we saw the victims of the Vietnam War.
Blue, this is why this is so frightening to me.
We showed America violence in their own in their own houses, and we said, this is where the country is headed. We are your children. We are doing what you have taught us to do. This is why this is so frightening
to me, because you respond to this global violence that you see as heinous with more violence.
We middle-class children came from. We did what TV taught us to do. We did
That's what you can't believe. That's why you have to put it on Manson.
That's why
because you can't believe it came out of your own houses.
America's children are not going for the same old putting money over life.
I want to ask Sandra a question, but before I do, I think it should be made clear, I personally have no evidence that she herself has participated in any of the Manson murders.
I'll take responsibility for all of it.
Okay, but I mean, I have no evidence that you yourself actually participated. But I want to ask you this question. Do you consider yourself a peace-loving person?
Yes.
You consider yourself peace-loving?
Yeah.
Okay, wait a while. Now, wait a while. All right, now, wait a while.
And the water and making war on people in
now,
El
she considers herself
Salvador,
peace-loving.
destroying Africa, destroying the world for money.
Well, it's hard to get a word in
the kids wouldn't have to get violence.
You know, I agree that all this destruction exists, but my response is not to go slice somebody up.
That's always the response when you're at war. You be a better person.
My response to war
all the
is
time.
to try to make people aware of it, to try to make people know that it needs to end.
You go to war and you be badder than the person
Okay,
you're against.
Vincent, yes.
And there is blood.
You don't make change without
I would like for Vincent to speak here,
She said
please.
she considers herself peace-loving, and I'd like to read a quote. It's an excerpt from a film, and here's what Sandra Good says. Whatever is necessary, you do it. When somebody needs to be killed, there's no wrong. You do it, and then you move on. And you pick up a child, and you move him to the desert. You pick up as many children as you can, and you kill whoever gets in your way. That is us. She just said she was peace-loving, and yet she says if someone gets in her way...
Yourself.
That's not self-defense.
You
That's
look
not
out
self-defense.
for yourself.
That's not self-defense. That's called murder.
Vincent, what was the theory of helter-skelter? What was that about?
The theory of helter-skelter is that Manson was trying to ignite a race war between blacks and whites. And he thought by killing these people and framing the black man, it would turn the white community against the black community. There'd be this all-out war, which he called helter-skelter.
So he caused the LA riots in Watts, right?
He said that during the war, he was going to take his family to the bottomless pit in the desert, a place he derived from Revelation 9. He says, we're going to grow to a size of 144,000 people, the 12 tribes of Israel referred to in Revelation 7. He said the black man was going to win this war. It was their karma. It was their turn to take over. They'd been stepped on by the white man for centuries. But he said the black man would never know how to handle the reins of power because he said Blackie only knows what Whitey's told him to do. So he said they'd have to turn over the reins of power to those white people who had survived helter-skelter, i.e. Charles Manson and his family, that he says we'll come out of the bottomless pit, and quoting Manson, we'll send Blackie on his way to picking cotton, and we'll take over the leadership of the world.
That's a fantasy. You would have to be psychotic to believe that. None of those people were judged psychotic.
This is what he told his killers.
Fantasy.
No, this is what he told his killers.
They might have been kicking that fantasy around at the ranch.
These are the people that killed for him. You weren't around, George. These are the people that killed for him.
They killed
for themselves. They didn't do anything unless
How do you know this?
He didn't permit them to do anything unless he knew about it and gave his consent.
I'll tell you something. No, that's not true. I'll tell you something else. I just heard a tape of the recent parole hearing for Bruce Davis, and he said you might have done a good job. The representative from the DA's office at that hearing said you might have done a good job of selling the helter-skelter motive to the jury, but that nobody in the DA's office believed that.
No, that's just not
right. Excuse me, I don't understand how you two can sit up on the stage and you 3 or 4 or whatever back there can sit here and try and convince a whole audience and a whole audience out there, viewers, excuse me, of that we're naive and that we're wrong, you know, after all these people have been living for centuries, you know, following these beliefs, you know. Granted, the world is not a perfect place.
You notice how
but when your beliefs infringe on somebody else's rights or lives, then you're wrong.
They don't.
Then you're
My
really
beliefs
wrong.
don't. My beliefs don't infringe on anybody's rights.
In a minute, you're going to meet some other people who come out and say Manson is a role model, that we should listen to him based on what?
I was with him since 1968, before the murders and after the murders. I'm a very strong-willed person. I would not be with a person who tried to take my will or who was taking anybody's will.
See, but this is what this man is responding to. He's saying that it's personal. He doesn't understand what it is we should listen to.
Either you get in the will of life, and that's Atwa. That's saving your trees, your water, or you're in the will of death and you die. That's all there is to it. Lines have been drawn.
I want to give you an example of the mesmerization in the Manson family. When I first met Sandra, she was up in Independence, and she was with Squeaky. And I met them out in the... Yeah, and I was out in the... They were out in the street, and I said I wanted to talk to them at the DA's office. And they said, well, if you bring some candy, okay, I'll talk to you. Anyway, Sandra told me that out in the desert once, Manson picked up a dead bird, breathed on it, and the bird flew away. That's the state of mind of the people in the Manson family. They were slavishly obedient to him. I want to give you one footnote to the helter-skelter thing. This is the philosophy that he instilled into the killers to work them up into an emotional lather so they were willing to kill for him. And they bought it, they bought it hook, line, and sinker.
They killed for love of brother. They killed to get a brother out of jail.
Manson may not have believed in it. Manson may not have believed in it wholly himself. There were two other motivations that Manson had. One was passion and lust for murder. That was his religion, that was his cradle. The second reason, he has an enormous amount of hostility towards society, against the establishment, and on these two nights of murder, he was viciously striking out at the establishment and using his minions to vent his spleen on society.
I'd like to say something. Why did my sister have to pay for it?
She shouldn't have been in Hollywood,
Why my sister? Why all of them? Why do we have to pay for this?
I'll talk to you about that.
My sister was a good person.
Hollywood is a hellish place to be.
The fact is that these people are murderers, and we have to protect ourselves from these type of people so they don't go out and kill more of us.
Charlie's not a murderer.
And that's
Charlie's not a murderer.
In prison.
You know, Manson did not kill anyone, and he did not...
But you're saying that because she was in Hollywood, and Hollywood is a hellish place, she had to die?
No, here's the thing. When you're in Hollywood, when you're a woman and you put yourself in that milieu, your body is being exploited, your face is being... You're being literally sold. You're being sold for money. You're being used for money. Where is the concern that women in Hollywood, their image, are shown for the... What I'm telling you, what I told you before, if you'd open your mind, we were at war with society, but the main catalyst for those killings was to get a brother out of jail, and I cannot reiterate enough.
My family had to pay for it?
In war, people die, Patty, and I'll talk to you about that as long as you want to talk to, and I'll tell you why.
You sit there and you talk about us, watching our kids come home in bags. So therefore, that meant that I had to watch my sister be rolled out of her house in a bag too, with her belly out here. So you don't kill. You get out there and you do the positive thing. The positive thing is that's helping one another and doing the best, helping our environment, loving one another, and taking the courage to get out there and taking care of our kids.
Then look out for Charlie, because he didn't kill your sister.
Keeping people in prison that are out to do us harm, so they can't make more victims.
What about an innocent man who's been held down for 25 years so he could make millions of dollars? And movie
He's alive, isn't he? My sister.
He's been in a cage in hell for 25 years.
He
did not kill your sister, Patty, and he did not order your sister to be killed.
When they talk about cleaning up the environment, here's what they meant. One member of the Manson family, after the murders, said, all we did was kill 7 pigs and help clean up the air over Los Angeles.
No,
that's what they're talking about when they're talking about cleaning up the environment.
Pat Krenwinkel said that's 7 less cars to pollute, if you want to get
No, I'm not talking about Krenwinkel.
We're going to take a break right here, come back. You're going to meet a bunch of young people who say that this stuff is right, that Manson is a role model, and we want to ask the questions about this whole race war and the racism that involves with this movement as well. This is something that we should all be watching out for, so stay with us. Talking about the new generation of Manson followers. Blue, during the break, you went over and said something to Patty. What did you say?
Charlie wrote her a letter, which I sent to her, and I just said if she has any questions. See, 25 years of lies is what this poor girl has had laid upon her. She's been misled and used in a very vicious money game. And there's a lot that she doesn't understand. This man has made millions of dollars. Book writers, movie people, rock and roll people, they've all been writing on Charlie's life. Patty has been used, and I extended an offer to her to call me and get together with me, and she can ask me anything she wants to ask me, and I'll be straight with her.
Let me introduce...
Because I feel for her. She's been lied to.
You feel for her because she's been lied to, not because she's...
Damn straight she's been lied to for a long time.
I sit in on the parole hearings now, and if you were to go talk to Patricia Krenwinkel or Leslie Van Houten or Tex Watson, first of all, they say in the parole hearings that they did do this for Charlie. Leslie Van Houten says she wanted to be a good soldier for Charlie. They all point the finger at Charlie, or Tex, especially the girls. You know, that he's the one, they didn't let us know what we were really going out to do that night. And I think if you were to ask them, you know, the very ones who have been sitting behind bars for 24 years, yes, they do blame Charlie. They do blame him for what happened.
They're trying to get out of prison by putting it on Charlie. Lynette Frome is doing live. She would die before she would lie and put it on Charlie to get out. I did 10 years. They had to kick me out. I said I didn't want out of prison until Manson and those people had a fair trial, not the media circus that went down. So those people that you talk about, Patti, they're trying to get out of prison. And now it's real fashionable to say that men did this, men caused that, I'm a poor victim, and it's real politically correct now for them to say that they were the pawns of this
I won't remind you of the statement about the victimization of women in Hollywood. Let me introduce some other young people here who are new followers of Charlie, and this is Eva, Christina, Stephen, and Eric. You say you find him a role model, a hero. Why?
Well, I don't think he should be in prison. I didn't know him personally, but he's an innocent man.
How old are you?
16. And he didn't do anything. There's no reason for him to be in there.
Okay, Christina?
He is a prophet to me. He's a good man. He's a peaceful man. People have made him evil. Society has made him evil. Charles Manson is not evil.
Okay.
Society made it that way.
Stephen?
I basically see Charles Manson as just a man who had become so fed up with society, he wanted to get away. He likes it in Death Valley, he wanted to be in Death Valley, and society just wouldn't let him get away.
No, he wouldn't let himself get away. No, and that's the honest-to-God truth. He chose that, and he wanted to be there, but yet he wanted to go out and lash back. See, he could have easily, all of them could have stayed in the valley and been peace-loving people and kept their little thing that they wanted going together. They could have done that. They could still be there, but they wanted more than that.
See, I don't think Manson lashed back. I don't think Manson's done anything. I basically think he's had evil projected upon him. He's become evil. Manson himself is not an evil person. He's become a scapegoat. He's become the nation's #1 boogeyman. Every nation needs a boogeyman. Every society needs a boogeyman. Whether it's red communists, whether it's Islamic fundamentalists, whether it's Satanists, whether it's whatever.
Amazing.
He's become a boogeyman.
Well, okay. Eric, let me get you in here. Eric, why a role model? Why not someone else?
Well, he tried to, you know, get away from society, all its problems, you know, like the racial issues. It's like problems of society that the media tried to help.
What do you mean the racial issues?
Well, you know, the media keeps it going, and he wanted to get away from that, you know, just escape from the stresses of society.
I don't understand. The media keeps what race stuff going?
Oh, well, they just hype everything up. Everything's bad, but, you know, it's a fact of life, the way things are, and, you know, he tried to escape the stressful bad aspects.
Yeah, people are saying...
Exactly what is it are you referring to about the media? You're being very vague.
Oh, they made him this, like, super-duper, like, crazy, insane killer.
Bertice? So what?
If you were,
that's his business. That's none of your business.
That's a universal symbol.
That's a universal sign. It's found in cultures.
Cultures throughout the world use that swastika.
Yes. It's a lot more than Hollywood Nazis.
I'd like to ask these young people a question for clarification purpose, because there's some ambiguity here. Manson was convicted of 9 murders. Now, do you look up to him because you think it's perfectly okay to do what he did, or because wait a while, or I haven't finished the question, or do you think the convictions were an error and that he's innocent? I'd like to know why you look up to him. Well, is it the latter or the former?
Convictions were. I think he was innocent of those convictions. Okay. I don't think he was involved in
them. He didn't murder
anybody. So you look up to him because you think he's innocent.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Because of the other philosophy. To me, the tale of not to kill is so irrelevant.
Why not look up to Gandhi? Why not look up to Martin Luther King? Why not look up to someone else?
Gandhi was a sexist man.
Vincent, yes. Vincent, yes.
I want to take this step by step here now. They say
why
that...
do we have to go look to an Indian?
They say...
Why can't we look to a white man?
I can't identify with Gandhi. He was from another culture, another time.
And he was sexist. He was a womanizer.
I can't identify with something like that, but Manson had a hard life. He was a white man who had a hard life, who grew up in the same conditions I did. Oh,
I'd like to follow up.
Let's see.
Bertice,
he got
45
pushed around,
years in
he got a lot of BS,
concrete box.
he got treated like crap from his family, from school. He spent 75% of his life in prison.
So you identify with them?
Yes, I very much so.
Yes, Vincent.
I ask you, upon what do you base your conclusion that this man is innocent? I want to hear from you. You weren't there, you didn't read the trial transcript. Why do you say he's innocent?
You weren't there when it happened, were you?
I'm asking you what.
Were you there?
Wait a while, but I was at the trial. And Manson not just was a member of the conspiracy, he was the architect of the conspiracy. He ordered and masterminded these murders.
I don't believe that.
Now Hitler was not at Auschwitz either, but if he had been at Nuremberg, in the dock there, could he be heard to say, I ordered the Holocaust, I ordered the attempted extermination of the Jewish race, but I didn't kill anyone at Auschwitz?
Media hype.
Now, wait a while.
Excuse me, are you saying that it didn't happen?
If Hitler made that argument at Nuremberg,
has to keep bringing it back to us. So
how would you have responded
the
to
media
that?
must be responsible for it.
Respond to what? Now say that again.
How would you have responded? You're on the jury at Nuremberg.
Okay.
Hitler doesn't die in the bunker in April of 1945.
Charles Manson.
He's at Nuremberg. Wait a minute. It's the same principle. It's the same principle. And he gets up there and he says, I did not physically kill anyone at Auschwitz. How do you respond to that?
10 million people. He was supposedly accused and somehow responsible for killing 7 people.
He was accused and convicted of 9, not 7, and is believed to be responsible for 35.
Yes. Let me get some of the audience in here, please.
That's hearsay, 35.
That's hearsay. No, there was testimony in a court of law.
Yes.
I have a question for Blue. You say that you all kill people to help the earth and everything, like the sea and everything, animals. How would you feel if I was to go out, if you had children right now, kill your child just because he was in the way? How would you feel? Would you say that's okay? I'm trying to help the earth. How would you feel?
Your question doesn't fit.
Okay. I think it does fit, and I think that's the point today, that these things become symbols of other things, and we use them for our own good, and we have to continue talking about this because young people are accepting this as truth. Stay with us.
I've spent 23 years in a solitary cell, and even on Devil's Island, you didn't keep anyone over 5 years. You broke every record that they've ever set on the planet Earth.
But after 25 years, people still know the face of Charles Manson. To most of us, he's a symbol of evil. But to others, he's a hero, a hope for the future. What do you do to show your appreciation? Do you write letters? What do you do?
I don't write them, no. But maybe I should.
Do you read any of the things that he has said? Do you listen to?
I've listened to his music. I like
files.
it.
Some of his stories.
So, Stephen, you're looking at me. What is it that you get out of this?
Out of Manson or the show?
Manson.
Well, I basically see, like, again, Manson was an anti-establishment person who suffered a great deal through his childhood and just wants to escape. He wants to get away from all of this. He wants to get away from society. I can perfectly understand that.
I suffered a great deal in my childhood, and I'd like to change a lot of things about this world. But, you know, you're not saying this is the kind of person we should look up to. Why? Why the difference?
Well, maybe people should look up to
He's closer to our generation.
He's closer to your generation?
Yeah.
Bertice.
He's 59, I'm 33.
Well, when the time these events happen, you know, he's like the most modern rebel of our time. I mean, that's how I see it.
He was involved in the youth counterculture of the 60s, which involved dropping out. And when I was about 15 or 16, I got involved in the youth counterculture of my own and wanted to break away.
Stephen, Eric, do you belong to like a white supremacy organization also?
I am unaffiliated with any organization of that nature.
You are not?
No.
Read some of their literature, but like...
I have a question for a few of you modern-day Mansonites. Exactly what ideology do you follow, Charles Manson? He, you know, in context, you're telling us that you want to save the environment through killing people, but how do you stand...
Please do not put words in my mouth. We are not advocating killing. We never advocated killing. Manson never advocated killing. He never advocated helter-skelter. He merely recognized the fact that the apocalypse was coming. He never said he was going to create it himself.
In your opinion, when Manson said to the women, do what you have to do to get him out, do you think he was suggesting to kill?
No, no. It was Bobby. When they wanted to get Bobby out.
I'm sorry, Bobby, yes.
And Charlie basically said, you know what to do. Don't ask me what to do. Do what your love tells you. Do what your love of brother calls you up to do. Don't ask me what to do. I just did 20 years in the penitentiary. I'm not going back to prison.
They keep saying,
Retrial.
Listen, they keep saying that Manson himself, never killed anyone. Well, he ordered and masterminded the murders.
He did not.
Wait a while. But in addition to the 7 Tate LaBianca murders, he was also convicted of physically participating in the murder of Shorty Shea. Physically participating. Right. He also shot and left for dead a fellow by the name of Lots of Papa.
Self-defense.
Bernard Crowe. No, the guy was unarmed. So what I'm saying is that he himself is very...
because he thought he had an unloaded gun.
He himself is very capable of murder.
Sir, please. We will get to you in just a moment. I will get to you in just a moment. Please let him finish his point.
I'll tell you what
we'll get to you in just a moment.
I'm saying that he himself is very capable of murder, but as long as he could get his minions to do his bidding for him, he did that. But he himself could very well kill, and he did kill. Shorty Shea.
Let me take this question. Yes.
There's no proof.
Excuse me.
There's no proof.
You said you're 16 years old. You said you're 16 years old, but like any other 16 or 17-year-old, they think they know everything anyway.
What about the testimony that other people were present at the killing of Shea that were never tried?
But he physically participated.
George,
they were there.
just 1 second. Let me get this point in here, please.
Yeah, I want to say that you're 16 years old. I'm 17, you know, and just like any other 16, 17-year-old, they think they know everything.
No, I don't. I don't think innocent man.
But you say it's just like religion. You want to bring somebody in, and then you want to tell them your side of the story. But y'all might. You said Charles is a role model. You might bring him in. You might bring him in, and you say, and you're gonna tell him your side of the story. But like the truth, you want to know the whole truth and not the half. Like a story, you want to know the both sides of the story and not one side. You telling your side of the story, but why don't you let other people tell their side of the story?
I'm not interrupting anybody.
We are not heard, ever.
Yes, please, Patti.
I think that, I don't, you know, I've been listening to these people, and all I hear is they say that they follow him, but for what? I don't get it, you know, not for water, for the earth. I've never heard anything really positive come out of this man. And why would he want to play up to the media like he has? Like Sandra was talking about, well, they pushed him to that point. Well, I don't agree. You know, they sit there and they say, you know, that he would tell them to do what was in their heart. But yet he lets the media, you know, they're placing blame here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's nothing positive about this man, and they want to say that, you know, he's got good beliefs. But what I would like to say, you tell me what good. Someone please tell me what is so good about him.
He has been sitting in a cell.
He didn't tell them to do what was in their heart. What happened, he told Tex Watson, get a gun and knife, go to the former home of Terry Melcher, murder everyone on the premises, and make the murders as gruesome as possible. That's what he told them.
I was there. He didn't say that. I was there.
Let me get a question in here, please. Let me get a question in here. Christine?
Yes. The trial was over.
No. You keep saying how air, water, trees, earth, and everything. It seems to me that before Charles Manson there was the Native Americans. Why did you choose to go after Charles Manson's way of thinking to get that result instead of following something very peaceful without killing people? You also said you were going to protect yourself no matter what.
Sure.
What were the victims doing to those people that killed them? Were they chasing them with the weapons?
I will pick up from there, and we'll take a break and come right back. That's 312-604-TALK.
I have a couple comments to make. First of all, Blue, I have a comment for you. Excuse me, Blue, I have a comment for you. You're sitting in your glory right now in Hollywood, so don't be talking about women being shown in obligated in Hollywood that their bodies are being exposed. For the rest of you, let's grow up, man. We are the same age. I am the same age as you guys, okay? We have more important issues we need to deal with in society right now. We've got rape, we've got child abuse, we've got domestic violence. We've got more important things that we need to deal with. Water. Air, water, trees.
What are you doing about it? What are you doing?
What am I doing right now?
You are doing about it.
I work in Cabrini Green 4 days a week.
Oh, what? Where is?
Thank you. I go there every day. I teach acting classes. I teach self-esteem classes for these kids to get them out of the projects. We need to deal with important issues like dealing with racism. We need to end racism.
If there's no clean air and no clean soil or food, there aren't going to be any people.
Hold on a second. Yes.
There aren't going to be any people.
Blue, that's right. Blue, you were saying that Manson is amazing. Just a question off the top of my head. Were you guys lovers? Because sometimes love can be very blind and can lead you in different directions. I'll tell you, I'll answer that truthfully. We were not lovers. I respected him. I had never seen such a, there's no words to put that man in. He's often said I'm not in paper words, like he writes a lot of stuff. I have thousands of pages of letters. He's in motions, he's in music. He has a beautiful singing voice. He plays music like you wouldn't believe. He is totally self-assured. He doesn't have to ask a woman or anybody to approve of him. He is moving out of his own center. He has a lot of soul.
Okay, this is Dan and Richard Lemons, and you all make T-shirts with the image of Charles Manson on them. Why is this?
Because we did it, it was a cool T-shirt, and it's a cool surfing shirt, and the guys we surf with in Newport dug it, and that's the way we do it.
But I also hear you sitting here, it's not just a shirt thing, it's not just a fashion kind of thing for you.
Right. We feel that Charlie got a raw deal. And Bugliosi, how many millions have you made off that book?
The people rag on us.
Wait a while. Okay, wait a while. May I address myself to that? No, let me address myself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just sit down. Let me just say. It's perfect. All right, fine. All right, stand up. Right, fine. All right, fine. Fine. Listen. It's perfectly normal and acceptable for someone to write a non-fiction book about their experiences. Wait a while, let me finish. Let me finish.
It was a fictional book.
Whether it's a lawyer in a case, a professional athlete, a general during wartime, that's all that I did. Don't equate that with Manson being responsible for 9 murders and profiting from the murders that he committed through you two guys.
Show me physical proof.
Through you two guys.
Not testimony.
Yeah. You're glorifying him.
Richard, I'm going to go to a break. I'm going to ask you guys to sit down.
Look what it says. It says Charlie don't surf.
Okay.
That's VC.
Yeah.
Viet
You're
Cong.
glorifying Manson.
I know living in...
Richard, I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to take a break right here. I'm going to ask you guys to sit back down for me. I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to find out what the future is for these young people. Where are their families? We've got to talk about all that. Stay with us.
Berry Show.
I just have a question. If all this is from love, how can anybody here that follows Manson sit up here and look at Patti? Can't you see the hurt in her eyes?
Yes.
Charlie, for the death of her sister? If you guys all have love, wake up. How about something happens to her sister because you said it because she was in Hollywood.
Killed her sister,
just
not
because
Charlie
she was
Manson.
in Hollywood. How can you call that love?
Charlie?
Yes.
Hey, people are so ticked off at Charlie. Where's Tex Watson come up in this situation? Tex Watson did about 85% of all the killing. You people don't even know who Tex Watson is. Bunch of ignorant people. You don't know who Tex Watson is. Tex Watson, he should be dead by now.
Okay.
Tex Watson.
I want to tell you about Tex Watson. I want to tell you about Tex Watson.
But they killed for him.
That's nonsense.
Listen, I want to tell you.
Where'd you get your information?
I want to tell you how Can I say I want to tell you.
It's a paper girl.
I want to tell you how subservient. Bertice?
Yes, please, Vincent, yes.
Yeah. I want to tell you how subservient Tex Watson. I want to tell you how subservient
Dan, do me a favor.
Tex Watson
I'm sorry, Richard, if you take a seat
was to Charles Manson. Watson had a friend visit him one time out at Spawn Ranch, and the friend had a beard. He told the friend, his name was Melton, he says, I hope someday Charlie will let me wear a beard.
How come Tex Watson
He says, I hope someday he'll let me wear a beard. Watson did exactly what Manson told them to do. They all were slavishly obedient to him. That's Tex Watson. He was the main killer. Watson was the main killer. I agree with you on that.
If you told me to go kill people, and I did, should you be in prison for the rest of your life?
Of course, if I order you.
You know.
Of course.
Racehorse Haynes. Racehorse Haynes. You know, Racehorse Haynes.
If I'm part of the conspiracy, of course.
Racehorse Haynes is one of the greatest attorneys in the whole world. He said that if Charlie was tried today, at the most he'd do 1 to 2 years.
Not if I, wait a minute, not if I was a prosecutor. Not if I was a prosecutor.
Maybe he's not as money hungry
my
as you
understanding
are.
now is, and I appreciate you asking the question about what are the reasons why you follow Manson, and truly, I want to hear your points of view. I don't hear.
See, I've asked that question. I've asked that question several times, and I don't hear an answer.
What I'm gleaming is that
you don't get it. We don't follow Manson.
Right.
We're not disciples of Manson.
Right.
We have to admire some of the things he said and wrote.
Eric?
What? What do you admire that he said?
What do you support?
That this entire system is corrupt, and we should all just break away from it. That's what he tried to do, and he couldn't. He was yanked back in.
And in the process, he committed murder.
No, he didn't commit murder. We've said this a zillion times.
Please don't forget that's his choice. Just like we all have choices, and we all create our environment, the environment around us. This was Charlie's environment. He created. He chooses to be exactly where he is. When he goes, please,
like he really chose to sit in prison for
I've sat and
30 years
watched
of his
him on
life.
TV in interviews, and you know, and he'll come across the table and he sits there. I can kill. I'll kill now. I can kill again. He's creating his own thing around him.
He knows his parole healing are a total farce, and he's playing it up.
Okay, hold on 1 second, please. Patty, why would he say stuff like that if that's not what he wanted?
They take him out of context.
Why? I'd like to try to clarify murder a little bit more. It is a fact that Charlie did go into the LaBianca house prior to Leslie Van Houten, Susan Atkins, Tex Watson. He did tie them up. He came back out of the house, and he said, now you go in and do it, and you do it right. Okay, now let's talk about murder. Is he not as responsible as those people that stuck the knives in them? Because that's murder. Murder is murder. If you tie someone down and someone else sticks a knife in it, aren't they both guilty of murder? Aren't they both?
I got to take a break here. I'm going to have to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about what the future holds and where do we go with all of this. So stay with us.
For the location nearest you.
Patty, in all of this, you see all of this happening. What is your reaction? What would you like to say?
What I would like to say to the Lemon brothers is that I've been speaking out, and I've spoke to them very much in depth, is you see this madness? You're adding to this madness. What I'd like to say to the young people, get out there and please do something positive. Get out there and love one another. Don't reflect the madness. I know there is so much madness out there. I grew up hard. It was hard for me to grow up with the evil that surrounded me and with my sister's life and that baby.
And the destruction of your world.
Please don't reflect it. Don't reflect it. You get out there and you rebel in a positive, good way. And
We are.
Go out and plant a tree.
That's right.
Go out
I do.
and do
I
the
have.
right thing.
Yes.
Don't reflect on all the evil and add to the evil, and that's what you did. And you know, they sit there and say that they're just reflecting. You have to.
You all made him evil. We are at a time, and what we've got to say is educate yourselves, educate your children, work for peace and work for change. See you next time.